Today we're going to talk about town and living in town. Town has a slightly different meaning here in Malawi because town includes the city, and town is anywhere that's built up with shops and infrastructure, and it could be quite a small place up to the two biggest cities, Blantyre and Lilongwe. All of that tends to be called town, but usually with a Malawian accent, tauni. And town is very different from the villages. The main reason that many people want to live in town, and many people end up in town, is for work. Obviously, there are a lot more jobs, there's a lot more ways of making money in town. Firstly, there is what we might call formal jobs. There are a lot of people working in town who are doing jobs like being teachers and nurses and doing those kind of very normal everyday jobs that are needed for anywhere to function. Of course, some of those people are also working out in villages, but on the whole, more hospitals and schools are in town. There are also a lot of people working in shops because the wages are relatively low in Malawi. Currently, there are still a lot of people working in shops, and the atmosphere in a shop is very different from how things are in most of Europe these days. There are a lot of shop assistants in there, far more than you would see in any shop in Britain, for example. And all of the checkouts have a person on if you're in a bigger shop like a supermarket. There are people to serve you, there are people to help you if you need things, there are people to take your money and write out the receipts or print the receipts out on a machine if the shop is a bit bigger. Lots of people working in shops, a very different feeling from going into shops in Europe where it's mostly automated and where there's a lot of automatic tills and robots, and everyone just waves their phone at a machine to pay. That is beginning to come in Malawi in the very formal shops, the proper serious level shops, bigger places, supermarkets and hardware shops, big ones and so on. You can pay with a card, and we're even getting to the stage now in a few places where you can just put your card on the machine. But all of that is still very new. It's a very different world here. The other formal employment opportunity, mostly in town, is to be a guard. Now, I think everybody across most of the world has heard of G4S and people like that. Here in Malawi, there are a very large number of organisations, businesses and so on, like G4S, who employ an army of guards, day guards and night guards, to guard people's houses, to guard people's businesses. Day guards and night guards are everywhere. It's probably one of the biggest employers in Malawi overall. Small organisations like our own at Chimbota, we employ guards. We have day guard at the school, we have night guards at the school, we have a night guard at our maize mills and so on. This is very normal, and it's a regular kind of employment with a wage, a salary at the end. Outside the formal, there is the informal economy, and the majority of Malawians in town survive through the informal economy. They have what you might call a small shop, and in some cases it's barely a shop. Sometimes it can be just a place by the side of the road. Sometimes it is a little structure. But for countless thousands of Malawians, they make their money by selling maybe vegetables, maybe second-hand clothes or second-hand shoes, maybe bags of drinking water, little plastic bags of drinking water, if the weather is hot, just walking around the streets with a plastic bucket full of these little bags of water, or peanuts, or little donuts called mandazi, which those kind of things are popular here, and samosas. Those kind of things are what keeps food on the table for a very large number of Malawians. And it is a relentless day on day on day life, just trying to make enough money so that at the end of the day you can go home and eat. It's every day without a day off, really, and it's morning till it gets dark. It's a very tough life in the informal economy, and if you're in a place where you have perhaps a little bit bigger shop, what we might call a little corner shop in Europe, there are a lot of those in suburbs and around towns. Those may well stay open later, even into the evening, just to try and pull in a little bit more trade before they can go home. So life is, for a lot of people, a very tough life in town. The challenges are different in town, of course, compared to the village. The challenges are to do with the cost of living in town, because for the majority of people, they're not living in their own house on their own family land. They're living in a rented house. And that makes a big difference. Rents are very high, there's no rent control. If you do not pay your rent at the end of the month, you might well find that your landlord just throws all your stuff out of the front door during the day one day and puts a padlock on and rents it to someone else. If you don't pay your water bill, if you are connected to water in town, but then you don't pay your bill because maybe that month was tough, you don't get much time before the water board come round and cut the water off. It's very hand to mouth and it's tough to survive. So there are a lot of challenges for people in town, and mostly those are to do with money. You may be earning more, but your outgoings are higher. Rent is high, and transport costs are high. Food costs more in town than it does in the village because of transport costs. Charcoal for cooking is very expensive in town because it has to be brought in from village areas, usually on the back of a bike being pushed up the road into town. So everything is more expensive, and that makes life difficult for the majority of people who are living in town. But it is a place that a lot of people would prefer to be, and people are constantly looking for a way to make it work. Tomorrow we'll talk about the very rich.